Hello, everyone. This is Michael from MB Studios, and this will be the first episode in a new series that I originally came up with a good couple months ago. But I never really thought about doing it to fruition until much recently. Now, it's a lot similar to the critique that I've already done for Batman Arkham Asylum, and I will continue to do for more video game related content. However, for my personal reviews for movies and television, in the world of YouTube, everybody's pretty much reviewed everything at this point. So, me trying to make a really long, in depth critique, that would be something that would be just more content that's already been published. However, that does not relate to the fact that if I do find something interesting and would like to make a separate educational video for it or a separate analysis video for it, I totally want to go. But for this particular series, I'm calling it Art Ex Post Facto, which ex post facto means after the fact. And obviously, for some of the media that I do watch, I would like to have an honest and open discussion about it, unscripted, and really just give out my own personal views about the film. And for this particular film, which would be the first one, I decided to do it on Last Holiday, starring Queen Latifah. Now, the funny thing about this movie is that I actually hadn't seen it before. Rihanna had actually introduced it to me a good couple years ago, and I do remember seeing it, and I honestly and wholeheartedly enjoyed it for it being data film with a lot of references and all of that. But I actually didn't really go much into watching it multiple times, or I didn't really see myself watching it more often than not when Brianna wanted to. And then when I started coming back to YouTube from my college years and deciding to make more content, I decided that if I have the movie in my possession, or if I have like content that I would like to discuss outside of video game critiques or analysis videos, which will be published at an eventual date. I just have to honestly decide what analysis I want to go for yet. And at this point, I do believe it will be for the Return to Arkham. Excuse me, the Return to Arkham video games for Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. And then as far as Arkham Origins and Arkham Knight is concerned, I haven't really made for that. But anyway, enough for the talk. Let's get on to the ex post facto. Now, Last Holiday came out in 2006 as a romantic comedy, and it is based off of the story of a young woman named Georgia Bird, played by Queen Latifah, as I stated before, who works as a department store assistant. And one of a sudden, one day, she ends up in some sort of medical incident. And upon getting an MRI, she eventually discovers that she has a rare brain condition called Lampington's disease, and is essentially told that you only have a few weeks left to live. So, with pretty much her life having an expiration date and the thankless job that she has at said department store, she eventually decides to quit and, as the title states, go on one last major holiday in Europe, as she personally has been with her interests in chef arts, cuisine, and a bunch of other ones. And basically, the main story revolves around her interacting with these very affluential, wealthy individuals, both related to her department field and outside of her field, and eventually coming into contact with a bunch of different individuals who she decides to refrain from acknowledging her disease and to just enjoy this last holiday where she is supposed to live. Now, the one thing that is actually I found interesting about the film is that it actually took around 25 years to publish. It was actually an original 1950s film who was actually under a male actor named George Bird. And it had been it got through many iterations because they had actually planned to release this film as a soft remake of the original film with a George Bird individual. But after the death of much of the original actors and the honest production crew decided not to go along with said film because of the late actor's passing, they eventually shelved it. And it had been in production hell for about a good 10, 15 years. And the Queen Latifah actually ended up deciding to read the script herself and decided maybe we could change it to Georgia Bird and do their own spin on it. And honestly, as far as the film itself is concerned, I do feel like if you're looking for a lighthearted film that is meant to bring enthusiasm and joy at a rough patch of your life, I believe you can go no further than this film. Last Holiday really doesn't try to present much. grander themes about, how death affects us, the philosophical pinings of what happens after death. It's not really about that. It's an honest look at an individual who they do acknowledge multiple times that the disease is going to kill her. They do not sugarcoat it at the same time. And Georgia understands that this may be her last time on life, so she plans to enjoy it, and ironically affects her life, and as well as those around her. Which I believe the casting for this film was pretty interesting. LL Cool J plays opposite Queen Latifah's character and is the main romantic interest in the film as Sean Williams, and I believe he does a good job of providing the everyday man. Timothy Hunt as Matthew Cragen and Giancarlo Esposito as Senator Dillings I think were good representations of both sides of the old money spectrum. John Carlos' character representing the affluential African American community that he chooses to ignore in favor for politics, but eventually changes his mind on seeing human relations, while the Matthew Crane character only sees the capitalistic money producing films in there. The actual film got a 56% on Rotten Tomatoes, specifically mainly because while they do appreciate Queen Latifah's acting and direction, they don't exactly appreciate how cliche and underwritten this story is. And as I said before, if you are looking for a film about cancer and having to deal with the existential thoughts of that, this won't really be the film. It's much more uplifting. I personally enjoy it, and I feel that if you are planning to watch a good film, with some good artistic merit, but with a lot of emotions and heavy-handedness in the Queen Latifah's usual performances, I really do believe that you'll get a good kick out of this film.